Well, hello everybody. Welcome back to my living room. We are going to be making, I hate saying this, we're gonna be making some changes around here today. I don't know if you guys are like this, but I always have this like hamster wheel of ideas that are going on in my mind and just like the environment that I want to create for our home and for our family. There's some things that have been on my mind for a while now. I feel a little bit silly because I know that we just moved into this house like 2 years ago, and sometimes I hate putting a bunch of effort into something only to change it 2 years later. But I think I've been on this kick of like simplifying lately. And I think that there's some things that I would like to simplify in our house. Some design changes as well as a couple of DIYs. You guys know how this channel goes. I am just gonna try something new that I've never tried before. I'm gonna take y'all with me and you guys get to just see me succeed or fail. Usually I fail, but darn it, I persevere and often we succeed in the end. I'm gonna go ahead and give you guys a little walkthrough of our living room. A lot of the changes are gonna be happening in here as well as in Ivy's room right here and a little thing over in the corner of our steps. But I think we're gonna be making some changes. So let's go ahead and get started. Okay, I hate saying this, but I think that I'm going to be changing my gallery wall. So this was one of the first projects that I did when I moved into our new house. And basically we have these incredibly high ceilings, right? I had collected all of this vintage artwork from all over the place. And I really love a lot of it, but you know, at first I had a winter scene and a floral scene in here and that seemed odd together. So I kind of rearranged certain things, brought in new pictures, took out old ones, and now the assortment is a little bit funky. And also I have to admit, people, I think it's too many items. And I know that it fills up the wall nicely, but I think I counted earlier and there's like 18 items in here. Please don't count and tell me I'm wrong, but I think that there's too many. I think that a really good gallery wall has something like maybe 5 to 8 pictures, and this is just way too many. And so I actually went to a garage sale recently. It was like an estate sale for somebody who used to work in an art studio, and she had all of these vintage frames, right? Well, I've never done the whole vintage frame printed artwork type things. Like I've always been able to find my artwork in the frames that I liked enough at the thrift store. Well, I'm thinking that I would like to try to find some really beautiful vintage art online or like vintage style art. And I think I'm gonna try to do one big frame right here instead of all of these. So I'm gonna probably wind up moving some of these into Ivy's room, which I'll get into in just a little bit. I also think that I'm gonna be bringing some of these into another gallery wall that is in our side porch. I'm gonna be doing some stuff back there in a video maybe in the next month or so, but we're gonna find a home for these pieces. I just don't know if they all belong right here, but it makes me feel so sad because I really worked hard on this project. But I would like to have a more grown-up, sophisticated home, and I think that that might call for one statement piece of artwork as opposed to a bunch of little pieces of artwork. Another idea that I have is I found this lamp yesterday. I found it at Thrift World off of 84th. I have been looking for a lamp to maybe replace this one right here. Again, please don't be mad at me. I am not getting rid of this lamp. I love this lamp. It is so pretty, but most of the year, I just don't know if it necessarily goes with the rest of our decor. A style that I really love is called organic modern. I just really like the colors and just kind of like the earthy textures. You guys can see I have a little bit of it right here. Like these are obviously vintage and antique pieces, but things that are a little bit more in this color family and maybe not so Shani Soiree. You guys have told me a million times how to pronounce this and I forget every single time. But like the Chinese blue and white, I really like the Chinese blue and white, but I may wind up bringing this into Ivy's room when I kind of do some stuff to it. So let me go ahead and show you what I have planned for her room. Okay, so sorry, before I do that, I am gonna do like a DIY textured paint on this. And I think that I'm actually going to be doing the same technique to this pot right here. I know I got this maybe last year or 2 years ago, but I don't love that it's just like brown, 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 and brown. So I think I'm gonna do it kind of more of a grayish tone, like something that's a little bit cooler because it's very warm over here. And just to kill two birds with one stone, I'm gonna also do the same technique to this guy. Please don't be mad at me for covering this up. Listen, this might be some people's style. It's not mine. It was on sale for $3.50, so don't hate me for that. Okay, let's go into Ivy's room. Okay, so for those of you who are not familiar, this is our guest bedroom. And as you can see, it is painted this like super dark green color. I really like the color that we painted it. However, it is extremely dark in here. Like you guys can see how nice and bright and pretty our living room looks. And when I painted this room this dark green color, I did not take into consideration that it's on the north side of the house. There's hardly any light. There's only a specific time of year in like the late summer where we actually get a little bit of sunlight in here, and only at the very end of the day. I actually painted this room like this because we were planning on this originally being like a library office type room. So when we were kind of planning out the girls' bedrooms and stuff, obviously Ivy was still pretty young. And so we're like, you know what, let's just throw the crib in here. And then when we moved in, Josh and I had to sleep in this room because we were getting our floors refinished. But we wound up getting a new mattress, and then we wound up just leaving our original bed in here, and we made it a guest bedroom. So it wound up going from being an office library to being a nursery slash guest bedroom. Well, with the new baby coming along, we're gonna try to make it a little bit lighter and brighter in here because I think that this is going to be Ivy's bedroom for a lot longer than we had anticipated. So with that, as much as we have enjoyed this dark, moody green, I think that we are going to be moving on from it. So I would love you guys' opinions on maybe like what to do around all of our walls and whatnot. But I think that a first step is going to be making our bedding a little bit more girly-fied, you know what I mean? I honestly think that ultimately it'd be really cool to do like wallpaper in here, like maybe something kind of feminine. We are going to be putting the new baby into this crib, but even, I don't know, like you guys can see everything is so dark in here. I don't feel like you can see the pretty details of the Jenny Lind crib. There's just so much in here that I feel like we're missing out on just because of how dark it is. Like you guys can see here, it is literally like noon right now, and it is still so dark in this room. And so I would love to be able to paint to just really brighten and freshen this place up, especially if we're going to have 2 little kids in this room. So with that, Brooklyn reached out, and I was excited to kind of bring in a little bit more like feminine bedding to kickstart this process. I also think that I might paint this bookshelf. Ultimately, I would love like a vintage bookshelf, but I think I may also paint this as well. Okay, so Ivy loves pink. As much as I am not a pink fan, she is very much a pink fan. And so I wanted to buy her something that kind of says a little bit more about her, since literally this entire room at this point is all just my kind of like masculine type attempt. So for those of you who are not familiar, Brooklinen is a luxury sheets company who creates high quality items to help elevate your home. It's so important to invest in sheets that not only are going to last a really long time through each wash, but that also gets softer with each wash. So we've had ours for a long time, and oh my goodness, they are so soft. It's a little bit hard to tell on camera, again, with the darkness of this room. It makes it so that lighter colors can get a little bit washed out in the camera. But I got these linen quilted shams, and this color right here is called Pebble. And I don't know if you can really see it on camera very well, but it's almost like a soft, like pinkish, purplish gray color. And I think that this is gonna be really nice, and that she's gonna be so excited about these. Brooklyn sheets and comforters, they don't just feel great, but they look great too. They have over 100,000 5-star reviews, more than any online bedding company. So I also got their linen quilt. It has 6 stripes on one side and thin stripes on the other. These are made of 100% linen that is made in Portugal. Linen is their lightest, most breathable fabric, and it has like moisture wicking capabilities. It's light yet cozy, and it's perfect for warm days or cool nights. You guys can shop for your own Brooklinen linen bundle from the comfort of your own home. Here, I'll show you guys how you can mix and match over 20 plus colors and patterns for your linen core set, as well as like quilts and pillowcases and whatnot. If you want to treat yourself to the coziest and most luxurious bedding out there, be sure to check out Brooklinen. Right now they're having their President's Day sale with all items 20% off through February 20th. A little hack I'd recommend is getting one of their bundles like I did. That way you can stack the bundle discount with the sale. That'll get you up to 35% off. The color isn't really quite coming out on video. I think that once we get some like pale, dusty pinks in here, it's really gonna bring out this color so nicely of this quilt and these pillow shams. Okay, so here are the frames that I found from the estate sale. They are quite dusty, so sorry about that, but I thought I would give you guys a little bit better idea. So these weren't like the cheapest things in the world. This big one is 24 by 48. I got it for $30. And then I got these two gold ones. I think the prices are on the back. Let's take a look. Okay, so this one was 25 and this one was 15. I think that I actually got all three for 60, which is kind of a lot of money now that I'm looking back on it. But the weird thing about this is that when I bought this big frame right here, it totally looked gold when I bought it at the house. And I was planning on taking rub and buff to it and making it much more gold. But now that it's in this room, it essentially just looks like it's wood tone. And now I feel kind of silly doing a DIY to make this like completely gold when I feel like it looks more wood tone. So this is my least favorite of the three, but I was looking for a large piece to go over this couch area. So now I'm also like a little bit conflicted because right now I have the gallery wall centered with the wall. And I think I'm going to continue centering it with the wall, but it does look odd because the couch is off center. But you guys, we cannot center this couch with this wall. It would just look really awkward and there's no room for it. So in order to kind of get an idea of what this is gonna look like, I'm actually gonna take a picture of the room and then I'm gonna take a picture of this frame and I'm going to put it into my iPad and I'm going to do kind of like a mock-up. That way I can kind of see how it looks before I take down all of this hard work that I did. Okay, but a secondary thought, these are still dusty, but I do kind of like how these frames look overlapped. And part of me is wondering if they look really good right here. The mirror that I used to have right here, I decided to put up in our bathroom and I'll show you that in a different video. But they look so cute. I really don't know what I'm gonna put in these or where I'm going to put them. And then I'm gonna go ahead and look on Etsy and see if I can find some really pretty prints to put into these frames as well. But before we do that, I should really get started on this lamp and vase. So they need a base coat of like a primer spray paint before we can get started. This one I'm probably gonna have to wrap in some plastic and stuff to protect the brass on it. But I'm gonna go ahead and bring them outside and give them a spray down so that they can dry while I'm working on this other stuff. I found this shade for $2. So the lamp itself altogether costs $5.50. But when I brought this home, I was bummed to see that the shade is one of these like low ones. And so I was like, oh man, what am I gonna do? This has one of these high top ones. Well, I don't know if this is like something that everybody knows and I just didn't know before this very moment of my life, but you can actually take this and take these off and then you can take this guy and put it on there and look at that. Who even knew? Not me, but maybe you guys all did. Okay, so here's where we're at with this. I just taped everything off as best as I could. Down here is a little bit tricky, but at least the brass on the bottom should be protected. And if I need to, I will wrap the cord. I have it tucked under here right now, but I'll just wrap it in this like plastic bag. Here's a little bit better before of this vase thing. And I really do like it, but we just have so many warm colors going on in our house. After looking at it for over a year, I've just decided that I do want something different for it, but I would love to be able to keep some of this texture in here. So something tells me that this one is going to end up looking different than the other one in the end, but we will see. using a program on my old faithful iPad. You guys, this thing is so busted. Look at this. It's got like stains all over the back. This thing is beat. I used to use this for my portrait business. But you know what? This thing might be 7 years old, but it still works. Even though I'm sure that my husband in tech hates that I'm using such old technology. Who even cares? So, okay, by the way, on that, I told you guys that my husband was a technical director a couple years ago, and I also told you guys that we were like really low income, and I can't tell you how many people were like, your husband's a technical director and you're low income? I don't believe it, blah, blah, blah. And I need to say this. Y'all were listening to the emphasis on the wrong syllable, and what I told you guys is that he was a technical director at a church. And for those of you who are familiar, churches don't have great budgets or great salaries. So yeah, there's that. Anyway, I still use my old iPad, and I use this program called Procreate that I bought originally for $9.99. When I bought it, at least, it wasn't a subscription-based app. Like, you just bought it one time for $9.99, and it is the best app I have ever bought in my entire life. I love it. Basically, I'm going to put my picture of my room that I just took and then a picture of the frame that I just took, and I'm going to see if I can just erase all of the pictures on the wall and see what the frame looks like on the wall. I'm also going to do a little bit of research on Etsy to see if I can find some artwork that I'd like to purchase for this, and then I need to do a little bit of research as to where I can get it printed and picked up as well. I went over with a paintbrush this wall, so I kind of got rid of all of the pictures that were behind the couch, and then after that I brought in another picture on top of this one of the frame with the whole room. I deleted the whole room and just left the frame, and here you can see that I can like move the frame around on the wall. So here you can see that I have centered it with the couch, which I actually kind of like, but it's odd because it's like, do I put something over, whoops, over here, or should I bring my big fiddle leaf and bring that back over here to kind of fill in that space? Or do I take it and center it with the wall and then maybe put like 2 sconces on either side? I don't have good sconces, and is the only thing. And so I'm wondering what you guys' opinion are. I honestly don't know if I can even make this decision. This is really hard for me right now. I think honestly at this point, maybe the safest decision is to just center it with the couch and then bring this plant over here. So let's go ahead and do some research on Etsy and see what we can find. So you guys can see here that I am searching for vintage printable country landscape. Here they had so many amazing options. Honestly, you could buy like entire bundles of like 250 images, 300, even 1,000 images, all for less than $20. But I will say that I did get a little bit specific with the images that I wanted. And for me personally, I would rather pay like $3 for just one image that I really like than have like 8,000 images that I'm not 100% sure of. So I did wind up going this route, and I just found some really beautiful images, which I'll show you here in a little bit. One thing that I really did like that I found was this image of a woman with her baby in front of a big gallery wall. And honestly, I was so inspired by the gallery wall in this. I loved it. Okay, so I've been working on this a little bit longer, and you guys, I did add in the pigeon color for our like wainscoting that I am ultimately hoping to do in this room, just to see what this artwork would look like with the new paint. And I think I ultimately ended up with this one because it reminds me so much of the Platte River in Nebraska. Like, it literally looks like my place. I was kind of torn between this one and this like kind of farmland picture. I always love like a mountain scene as well. In order to get that little guy down there in the boat, I would have to bring a lot of the darkness into the frame. And so I think I wound up ultimately choosing this guy. So I am gonna go ahead and get this one printed. I'm gonna figure that out. But I kind of want to figure out the other frames as well. So let me go ahead and kind of test those out. Okay, so this is the current print that I have above our fireplace. It's actually been driving me crazy because I don't like that it's not even with these sconces that I have on either side. It's obviously a little bit too high. It needs to be brought down, but I'm lazy, and so I haven't changed it. As much as I like this winter print, you guys, I'm sorry if you're gonna see some of my pregnant belly. I didn't expect the acrobatics that I was gonna be doing today. I do feel like they have a little bit more of like a mid-century feel to them, and I think I'm trying to go away from mid-century and a little bit more traditional in our living room area. Let's take a look at this. Does this seem like it's going to be a good size ratio for this wall? So now I need to think about the fact that I think I have made the decision that I'm going to be moving this fiddle leaf fig over to the other corner to kind of fill it out so that I can have some balance with the picture being centered with the couch. So keep that in mind. How does this frame look with this fireplace? Does it look like it's too small? Would that be pretty there? With like a nice print in it? Okay, so I might actually take a picture of this and see if I can try out another print on my computer. So I think that that is the plan for this guy. As far as the little one, I did kind of want to see how it looked in our kitchen. Oh, you know what I realized is that this one is set up to be a vertical. How's that going to affect us? Let's see how this might look in my kitchen. So I recently put this guy up here, but what would it look like if I had this frame instead? I feel like this one's a little bit large. Would this be right? I don't know. I guess I always thought of it as having a horizontal on it. If I did the horizontal, I'm so nervous about this nail. I think the horizontal does look better, and I do like the size for that spot. So maybe I will try to find a print to go right here as well. Okay, so I did just bring these bad boys in from outside. I actually kind of like the color that I painted it. I almost want to try it on the area that it's gonna go on. I'm over here like, ooh, I like this color, and that's because it's the color of like everything else in my house. This I found out has like tape on it. So maybe I should have taken that off before I spray painted. Oh gosh, I'm just making it worse. Anyway, I'm thinking that I'm gonna have a really rough texture over this ultimately anyway. So this color isn't really meant to do anything other than just create a primer for what I'm going to be doing. So hopefully, I picked matte, but it's still looking a little shiny. But hopefully my paint will stick to this. So let us pray. I told you guys that I was gonna try a technique to make a texture on this lamp. So I'm gonna wind up mixing baking soda with paint. I just bought some, like honestly, just acrylic craft paint, and I bought some gray and some brown, and I also have a bunch of black that I've just had for a long time. So I'm gonna wind up mixing these colors together just to try to see if I can come up with something. This one, I'm not going to do the baking soda technique on it just because it already has a really nice texture to it, and I want to make sure that I don't lose these indentations or anything. And so I am simply just going to paint this, and I'm going to try to create some texture with the paint, and then we're going to use a little technique at the end too to maybe give it a little bit more texture. With this guy, I am going to try to make some texture with the baking soda. I literally just bought the cheapest paintbrush I could find at Home Depot for very rough surfaces, as you can see. So I'm gonna just see what I can create on here with that baking soda technique. I feel like with the thickness of the baking soda, this one may take a little bit longer to dry. And so I'm gonna go ahead and start on this guy, and I'm just gonna do strokes like this around it to try to give it some texture. So I'm gonna go ahead and mix this up and we'll get started. For we are God's handiwork, created in Christ Jesus to do good works, which God prepared in advance for us to do. Ephesians 2:10. I love this because I've been thinking so much about creativity lately, how all of our creativity comes from the Lord because He is our creator. So whether you are a painter or a sculptor or a designer, a seamstress or a musician, we all have some level of creativity that we can share because we have all been made in the image of God. We each have something individualistic and creative that we can contribute to the world. Our gifts and abilities are unique to us. I love thinking about God as like a diamond, and each one of us are like a facet of how extraordinary He is. For ever since the world was created, people have seen the earth and the sky. Through everything God made, they can clearly see His invisible qualities, His eternal power and divine nature, so they have no excuse for not knowing God. Romans 1:20. O Lord, what a variety of things you have made. In wisdom you have made them all. The earth is full of your creatures. Psalm 104:24. If you are like me, sometimes the hardest thing to get is going. And so I love engaging in creative projects, but sometimes it just takes that step. And I love YouTube for that reason because it really does encourage me to get out there and try things that I haven't tried before. And I would encourage you guys to do the same today. And He has filled him with the Spirit of God, with wisdom, with understanding, with knowledge, and with all kinds of skills to make artistic designs for work in gold, silver, and bronze. God wants to put your talents to use. Okay, so I totally forgot to turn on the camera for this one, but I actually wound up going over this whole pot again with just a layer of kind of like a mix of white and gray and a tiny bit of brown, and I just feel like it really made it look a lot nicer. It was looking really splotchy before. It was super obvious that it was painted, and I think that the colors on this are a lot more subtle, even though there is a lot of variation. I also came over here and I tried to fill in another layer of this kind of base coat that I've been working with. And I think I'm actually going to take some of this right here and bring it on over into this and see if I can integrate some of these nice variations of color. So with this, I'm just kind of using a dry brush technique. And you can see that it's bringing in some of these lighter colors as well as some of these kind of browns that I'm not really mixing in super well. I'm just trying to take things super slow. And doing this with this dry brush technique just gives it even more dimension and texture. Okay, and the final technique I'm gonna be using is I just grabbed some dirt from outside. I'm gonna put a little bit of water in this, and then I'm just gonna rub the actual dirt onto these vessels so that I can get a really nice, realistic look. And then I'm gonna poly over them, and then I'll show you the finished product. All right, everybody, well, I put on some oil-based polyurethane on these last night, and the thing that I don't like is that it really brought out all of the dirt that I put on this one. So you know what, I think we're just gonna have this on the back, and we will just display it on this side instead, which I feel like looks a lot better. But I thought I would give you guys kind of a close-up of the after of how these are looking, and then I will go ahead and style them in our room. All right, so here is our somewhat finished product. We were able to get 1 out of our 3 pictures printed. We ran into all kinds of trouble, but thankfully at least I've got the main one that I was really focused on printed. I really liked how it turned out, even though it did print a little bit larger than expected and I had to trim it down a little bit. The only thing I don't love is that it is a little bit warped, as you guys can see. Hopefully I will get these shown to you guys here in the next couple of videos, but I just thought that I would show it to you. As far as we got, you guys can see here that we now have the new lamp as well, and I really love how this cool tone of the lamp kind of brings in like the subtle blues of the pillows and in the river of the picture as well. Thank you so much for joining me this week. I think next week we're gonna start into some spring decorating, and I hope that you guys will join me for that. And until next time, we will see you later. And remember that if you want to treat yourself to the coziest and most luxurious bedding out there, be sure to check out Brooklinen. Right now they're having their President's Day sale with all items 20% off through February 20th. And a little hack I'd recommend is getting one of their bundles like I did. That way you can stack the bundle discount with the sale. That'll get you up to 35% off.